Hello, everybody. I'm Alexy Khrabrov, the organizer of SF Scala, and we are on location at StumbleUpon, where we are having a meetup tonight about prediction.io and StumbleUpon itself. And I'm here with Debora, the Senior Director of Engineering and Principal Data Scientist at StumbleUpon. So this is SF Scala Developer Series, and we ask folks about their profession, about their tools, about their companies. So I'm going to just start with a question. So what StumbleUpon is doing, and what kind of problems are you solving at StumbleUpon?
Yeah, so I will talk this a little bit, in my talk. But StumbleUpon is trying to address a problem of serendipity search. Mm-hmm. That is basically discovering new content. Mm-hmm. Often people misinterpret this as another Google or another Facebook, but actually the problem space is totally different. Mm-hmm. We are not search. We are not another social network, but what we are trying to address is the problem of convey information or content to people when these people is not really looking for something in particular, but has a broad interest. Mm-hmm. There are few new startups that are trying to address the same problem, but StumbleUpon is in this space since more than 10 years.
Yes, so it's one of the oldest startups in the Silicon Valley.
Yeah. And so StumbleUpon is not a startup, and so we extensively have studied all the problems related to discovery or serendipity search. Mm-hmm.
I think your title is very interesting because in many organizations, data science and engineering are separate things. So I wonder, what do these things actually mean to you, especially data science, because there is a lot of different meanings people add there, and how does it work for you to kind of join these two things?
Okay, I come from research. So originally, my background is research and applied science. And one of the main problems for researcher or applied scientists is that the research project doesn't go anywhere if it's not backed up from engineering. Engineering is the true backbone of innovation. And in many years, I got frustrated because my project were stuck somewhere because there was this boundary between science, data science, that became data science. When I started, it was just science, and engineering. Mm-hmm. So StumbleUpon gave me the possibility of basically fill the gap. Mm-hmm. And finally have the possibility to enable machine learning at scale. Mm-hmm. And this cannot happen without engineering and science working together. And so for me, it's a huge opportunity, to finally start the project from the very beginning and bring it back in front of the user. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, this, in my opinion, is the only way in which data science can actually really work within company. Having something that is totally separated from the engineering organization in the company is not something that is sustainable in the long term. Okay,
but like at web scale, everything becomes big data, right? Which is another ill-defined term, but generally it may mean web scale platforms which react in near real time to a lot of clients with APIs, and then big data processing, and there is all these questions of scale and DevOps, which is usually covered by platform. So I wonder, how do you manage to address all of this? Is it kind of within your area of responsibility if you are faced with problem of scale, and kind of hardcore engineering problems going with this?
Okay, this is an interesting question because there are real problems, and there are, I would say, fake problems, in the sense that the product that I inherited, I'm leading the personalization since 6 months, was after all an offline batch-like product. What I mean with this, a lot of computation is not done in real time. Yes. A lot of computation is done by cron job, batch, and what you actually do in real time is just serving recommendation through Elasticsearch or through any, kind Lucene-based. This is actually is not a problem of scaling in the sense that it's something that is perfectly addressable without, considering performances. The other question that people ask me, big data, how do you train model? Again, this is not a problem in the sense that training a model is not a problem of scalability. It's something that you do offline, you sample. The real problem, in my opinion, is enabling data science. And this comes a step back. Enabling data science means doing smart data processing. And this smart data processing was not in place when I took over the group. So what I immediately realized is that to bring the product where I want the product to be, I really need to start considering how I can, in real time, take all the inputs that the web produces, and this is not just rating, and put these in a model that real time basically help me to improve my product. So for this, just this part that I'm telling you, pre-data processing and creating modeling around the data to better understand user behavior, yes, I needed to take in consideration probably like scalability, real-time computation. And here is when I was, let's say, introduced to Scala. And I am lucky because we have a platform team that are David, that was Granite, that really introduced me to Scala and helped me to basically understand what are the limitations of the current pipeline that we have and how to address this limitation in, I would say, a more reactive and dynamic system. This is what we are actually trying to do right now.
Okay, well, that sounds great. And actually, this is interesting. I've made this observation recently. I was at the NextML one-day conference, and a lot of data scientists are using different kinds of tools. For instance, they're using Python, they're using Theano, they're using Lua. So they want interactive REPL. They want to be in this environment where they can do ADA, but they want performance. So all these things compile down to C, right? And they still stay within a single node, maybe multi-core, maybe GPU, but they're not distributed, right? So Scala gives you the REPL. It also is backed by distributed systems such as Spark, all right? But some of the libraries are missing, Pandas, some stuff, some R. R people like all the packages. So I wonder, what's your take now that you've seen the Scala ecosystem? What is the potential for data scientists kind of coming to Scala platform and leveraging the distributed component? What can we do as a community to bring all the tools or most of the tools which people enjoy in Python or R? Is this a problem for you, for instance, that some of them are not there? What do you think of future of data science on Scala?
I have to say, so data scientists usually are not engineers. This is, I would say, is the big problem. And so they rely on tools like R or Python, as you mentioned. I do believe that if we just focus on data science like an exercise, these tools are good enough. You can model your problem and you can train your classifier. But again, to bring data science in your product, I really don't think that the current tools are performant enough. And I really believe that there is more and more interest from data science to basically see what they work in, they model, to be actually used in real environment. And so I have to admit, at StumbleUpon, there was not use of Spark, there was not use of, not even, I would say Mout, for example, because what we were trying to do is just this batch working. But again, now if you want to be competitive, you cannot rely on the computation that happens in a single node. I mean, you really need to model user behavior real time. when more and more people will realize that this is the next step, really enable machine learning, enable future architecture, enable a series of subsystems that are around, for example, recommendation. I was thinking that the gap would be filled immediately. Again, for me, it was like working on just on data science. I didn't have the perception, but this became immediate as soon as I took over the personalization group. So that there was a gap to fill. And so here the interest of personal interest and my group to what is available. Prediction.io, Spark, Storm. So we are deeply modifying our infrastructure and our architecture to enabling data science. So I do believe that with this passionate community and with the ability, also because data science is permeating now many aspects of different components in different corporate, I really believe that it will just be a matter of time before we start seeing more and more algorithm and I would say implemented directly in Scala.
That's great to hear. I mean, that's kind of confirms, my intuition. So it's great to hear it from a practitioner. And this will be one of the themes of our Big Data Scala conference in August, where we want to pose it as a challenge to the Scala community that we have the computational means, right? Let's kind of fill in the gaps so that beginning data scientists can be taught this, and maybe they will start from a much stronger power. So another question I want to ask you. I noticed that you come from European tradition. And I also come from European tradition of math and physics, and I wonder how does this affect your kind of your view in a startup culture, which is so academic tradition is about rigorous build up from the first principles and scientific approach and proof and so forth, right, and convincing your colleagues that you're right, and here basically it's a business where you convince people that you're right if you have more clicks and more visits and stuff like that. And so I wonder, how do you find this kind of two cultures interact in Silicon Valley from your point of view?
This is a very interesting question. So it's true. I found that my background is different. So in the sense that, for example, the way I act, I like to build a product. I like to believe that we can make a difference in a product. It doesn't matter how many clicks your product has in this moment. And I mean, if you think about it, this is kind of really different. If you think in Europe, people start a job and probably retire after 20 years within the same company for 20 years. Right. And I really believe that not anything. So the startup idea that everything can be created in I don't know, in a few months, and you can collect millions of dollars and pass to the next startup probably influenced me. I have kind of, say, love of the product that I'm working on. I try to be passionate about the product. I try to to always think long term. Where I want this company to be in 5 years, in 10 years, and what I can do to bring this company to be there in 5 years and 10 years. And so I would say that this is basically different from the startup culture in which you just, and this is one of my, I would say my, probably, not problem, but the way I approach the problem itself. I usually do not plan for the small, the short term or the immediate reward. I do believe that you can accept the click-through rate going down for a certain period if what you are planning for is an increase in the product. If you are really innovation doesn't happen in a night. Right. Innovation does not happen in a couple of months. And I do believe that also it's not the money that you collect that actually make your product strong. And so I have to say, yes, I will not define myself as an entrepreneur. I'm not the startup type. But I do like the mentality, the agile mentality. I do like the fact that you can cultivate a long-term vision, but with rapid step, rapid pace, and this actually is something that I learned and I started to appreciate when I moved in Silicon Valley.
Oh, that's great. So, maybe like when to your point, that you see the horizons. So maybe you will end with kind of the prediction, because you plan 5. Where do you want StumbleUpon to be in 5 or 10 years, and what do you personally want to accomplish, doing it, right? Exactly. Like, what are your kind of challenges for yourself, for the next few years?
Yeah. So for me. Let's start where StumbleUpon wants to be. We're ambitious. We want to be the first personalized content engine in the world. And I think we have the expertise to be there. What I needed to do for me to be there is to basically address the limitation that I currently see. So there is a lot of learning that I started when I took over the position of Senior Director of Engineering. Fill the gap between data science and engineering. And this, in my opinion, is extremely important to bring, to meet the long-term objective for StumbleUpon. Personally, from my perspective, is a lot of learning, both from, I would say, the data science perspective, because I don't know if you're familiar with the recommendation system, but it's a field that, algorithm and methodology, there is one new every single day. If you follow Rexis, this year was extremely inspiring. Our other, conference like KDD this year with Data Science for Good was another inspiring moment. So a lot of learning just on, science direction, machine learning direction, but also a lot of learning for me as engineer to, to help me to fill this gap and to work in this distributed setting that was not, in my core since I come from science. But I really believe in this product, and I think we can get the goal.
That sounds great. So I hope we'll revisit it in a few years and see how it pans out. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Looking forward to your talk.
Thank you.
Thanks.